Nigerian ports lose 10 billion naira as NSAS protests paralyze operations. 70,000 businesses to benefit from MSME's COVID-19 funds, says federal government. Central Bank of Nigeria warns banks on rising fraud and terrorism financing. And on this episode of the program, we'll be looking at how data affects policy formulation for economic sustainability and prosperity. Of course, the program is Business Express and it's reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Muplang Dakok. The Nigerian economy may have lost billions in revenue in the last few days following the ongoing NSAS protests which paralyzed economic activities in the nation's economic capital, Lagos, with the Apapa and Tinkan Islands, among other places, under attack. The groups of NSAS protesters, which included clearing agents, truckers and Apapa youths, in the last few days demanded an end to political or police brutality, extortion, customs multiple units, and bad roads, among others. In making their demands, the protesters blocked the two port access roads leading into the Lagos ports, wharf and creek roads, thereby paralyzing port activities at the nation's premier seaports. And today set ablaze the Nigerian Ports Authority building in Lagos. The National Coordinator Save Nigeria Freight Forwarders, Osita Chukwu, said the ports must have lost over 10 billion naira in the 2 days of the protests, looking at turnaround of the vessels, the NTA relaxation maintenance and charges, duty payment, the parking of vessels, and so on. He said the economic implication of the protest will be huge as it has crippled port activities, with clearing agents and others now venting their anger over extortion, corruption, and other challenges they are facing at the hands of port security agents. The World Bank concludes arrangements to support Nigeria with a $750 million loan towards speedy recovery from the impact of coronavirus pandemic. The loan, which is $20 million per state and $15 million for the FCT, is based on performance result. Comfort Amadou reports that the World Bank country director affirmed the bank's commitment to support the Nigerian government's efforts towards the eradication of poverty in the face of the pandemic. Though the coronavirus has affected economies globally, notably the livelihoods of those at the grassroots, the Nigerian government has continued to provide palliatives and stimulus funds to boost the economy, mostly from the country's 2.5 trillion naira economic sustainability plan for economic recovery. And to help Nigeria quickly recover from the impact of the pandemic, the World Bank is supporting Nigeria's CARES program with a $750 million loan.
That everything is in order before we put pen to paper.
We are following a set guideline set up by World Bank to ensure that we meet the eligibility criteria for all disbursement-linked indicators. That is what would make them disburse the funds that you're eligible for.
And you need to sign what we call subsidiary credit agreement that will empower the federal government to make deductions from your state allocation when the time falls due.
In another development, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has told banks and other financial institutions to be on the lookout for increased cyber crimes, money laundering, and terrorism financing in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Apex Bank said the call is based on the advisory from the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit The regulator, in a circular to all banks and other financial institutions in the country, signed by the CBN Director of Financial Policy and Regulation, said the advisory identified increased financial crimes such as cyber crimes, frauds, counterfeiting and substandard goods, diversion of public funds, and misuse of non-governmental organizations. The CBN advises financial institutions to keep abreast with emerging risks and other developments while taking proactive steps to address the new and emerging risks. Meanwhile, the federal government has reiterated its commitment to fully execute the 75 billion naira Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survival Fund. It said the scheme, which is aimed at alleviating the challenges faced by small businesses during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, has also attracted 432,000 applications from 12 states, out of which 70,000 have been picked. The Special Assistant to the President on MSMEs in the Office of the Vice President, Tola Adekunle Johnson, disclosed this while giving an update on the scheme. He explained that the scheme is different from trader money. Now, 100 female farmers have received specialized training on information communication technology (ICT) to enhance their entrepreneurship capacity in agricultural development. This forms part of federal government's efforts to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty and ensure food security. Ngozi Technico reports.
Hajia Aishat Yakubu is a fish and poultry farmer who ventured into the business without expertise training. As a result, her initial 100 fingerlings almost died off, she said. With little improvement today, her story in fishery and poultry is said to experience a total turnaround when she honored an invitation to join 100 others to undergo a specialized ICT training on agricultural development, which lasted for 1 week.
I have learned to know how to, advertise my products on the internet so that I can get more buyers.
I'm going to make very good use of this opportunity I've gotten from it.
It is on record that Nigerian women entrepreneurs are major contributors to economic growth, and they account for 70% of MSMEs.
It's very encouraging to see women going into ICT, to see men also going into ITC at the same time, and also looking at entrepreneurship as something that is a roadmap towards self-reliance.
All those in agricultural value chain who produce, plant, harvest, fish or transport our food, no matter the circumstances, they continue to produce food to our community and beyond.
With this empowerment, the expectation of Aishat and all the participants are high, with eagerness to teach others and translate the knowledge into wealth.
Statistics and data are identified as tools for sustainable economic development, and getting them right is paramount to nation building. This was the submission of stakeholders at a virtual discussion as the National Bureau of Statistics takes the lead in marking this year's World Statistics Day. Is just about numbers and charts, but for economists and developers, statistics is a roadmap that examines the current economic status of a nation and forecasts the future.
Get right is getting our data right. If we get our data right and we use that data, we'll get our policies, our decisions right. If we get our policies and decisions right, Nigeria will attain its rightful position in the world.
Every nation of the world needs statistics, not only Nigeria. And especially after the COVID-19, you need to know where you stand. First, you need to know how much impact the COVID-19 has caused your economy.
As a matter of policy, government is determined to ensure the production of accurate, timely, and reliable statistical information.
I have on telephone Dr. Boniface Amobi, a statistician and former president, Nigerian Statistical Association, to talk on the use of data to enhance policies and promote economic sustainability. Mr. Amobi, you're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Okay, So the World Statistics Day is celebrated 20th of October every 5 years, and Nigeria joined the celebration this year. What does the day seek to achieve?
The essence of World Statistics Day is well known to all of us who are in the field and those who have been participating in it, and the general public. It's a day that the world has set aside to make people to know the importance of statistics. Because to us, statistics is the bedrock for development. We have said it time without number, that without statistics, we are going to nowhere. Because it's the statistics that will show light and give us the direction of where we are moving to. We had also the World Statistics Day celebrated on 2016. At the time, the current government entered into governance. And coincidentally, I was invited to speak on better data for better life. You know, at that conference, I was able to outline that there is nothing. If we are going to move forward in our development, the only and very viable instrument is timely and accurate data. You know, that is what we require, because that is what will give us the direction. I want to use my elementary teacher's assertion that if you do not know what you are looking for, there is no way you can find it or define it or work with it. So for you to know what you are looking for in this context, it's better to explain your situation, better will explain where you are, better will give you the roadmap where you want to go, and better will even portray what you are expecting, what you are expecting to achieve. It's data all the way, data to plan it, data to implement, data to evaluate, and data to appreciate what you have done. So it's data all the way.
All right, you've talked about the fact that getting our data right is very key to getting policies right. How accurate is our data collection process in Nigeria?
Yes, you know, data collection is quite computer system. The what they are doing are reliable. They have told us about it. The data itself is so much, the data we need is so much that we are still cutting the scratch of it. And because of that, it makes people not to appreciate the one that is on the ground. We really want to have to make data production part and parcel of the system, because that is where the whole entire world is going to. There's no way you can move forward without data.
All right, Mr. Amobi.
Yes.
You said there's still a gap to be filled. What are those things that need to be done so that we can fill up the gaps in terms of getting the required data?
Now, there are so much data it is to be collected. If you look at the book that is like the Bible of data collection, which the National Bureau of Statistics from time to time issue out, you know, this data will explain from sector to sector what is expected to be done. And it's not comprehensive because the data is dynamic. It requires review at least every 5 years. And data is life. It grows with the population. There are so much to be done. Meanwhile, the problem we have in Nigeria, until I left the service, I don't know what is happening now, is that international communities do more in assisting us to produce data, because we all understand that it's only data that they will know what is happening in Nigeria, or like every other place.
All right, how can achievements in the field of data in Nigeria help in achieving the sustainable development goals?
Our government has to take it as a priority. We have to budget effectively for it. Data production is cost effective. But the end result, the utility, the result that will come out of it at the end of the day will save a lot of things. But most of the time, our government is not provided enough for the production of data. At the 3 tier levels of government, meanwhile, MDS is supposed to be coordinating across the board, the 3 tiers of government. But you discover that even at the federal level, many MDAs are not what they are expected to be doing. They are not doing in terms of data production and generation. So a lot needed to be done. And when this is done and the MDS is monitoring them consistently, it's not something that we do like an ad hoc something. When you want it, you just go and see. That has to be a flowing system that will run through the life. It is by studying you should be able to know where there are gaps, what you need to do at any point in time. We are talking about COVID-19. I want to thank the people that coordinated that program.
Yes, I was going to ask you, talking about COVID-19, how can our data help to, curb the impact of the pandemic on our businesses?
The little they have done during the lockdown was so helpful. Nobody was going out. Everybody was glued to the television. There and then they keep on giving us updates of what is on the ground. Majority accepted that figure, even though a few people still believe it was cosmetic. But when the thing flows consistently and we evaluate them at every stage with the technological know-how, everybody will come to terms that these are real data. And with that, when you now know that this is real, it's not just people are painting up pictures. It makes people to run away. So that will go a long way to help us to curtail pandemic. Even businesses we are affected, and if we have been keeping enough data about our businesses, you will know exactly at what point that we are lacking, what is needed, how much that we are losing every day. People were told not doing nothing, just sitting down. So we were losing money, we were losing a lot of things. It is data that will show you all these things. And it's also data that you will use to plan how to recover. If you want to recover, when we say by the year 20 this, I can't think that the year will not come. But if you have sufficient data and you can now draw the roadmap, and you will keep the require. So data is the bedrock, is the panacea for good governance. That we can achieve it, we must have the data.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Boniface Amobi, a statistician and former president of the Nigerian Statistical Association of Nigeria, for your time with us today on Business Express.
Thank you very much.
The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has issued a corporate governance guideline and a template for reporting compliance with the Securities and Exchange Corporate Governance Guideline, which becomes effective on January 1st, 2021. Some provisions of the document indicate that members of the board shall not be less than 5, and to safeguard the independence of the board, not more than 2 members of the same family shall sit on the board of a public company at the same time. The Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Nigeria in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, and a bank executive, Patrick Akinwuntan, have stressed the need for reduced costs of remittances into Nigeria as a way to increase remittances through official channels. Speaking at a webinar on financial services remittance solutions for Nigerians in diaspora, Dabiri Erewa said remittances into the country would be more impactful to the economy if they are made cheaper, easier, and faster, noting that over 17 million Nigerians in diaspora have been sending money back home to the country to support various needs of the Nigerian economy. She said last year $25 billion was churned into the Nigerian economy, an amount estimated to be about 5% of the nation's GDP. Oil prices eased on Wednesday after a surprise build-up in U.S. crude stockpiles stoked concerns about a global supply glut and a spike in global COVID-19 cases fueled fears of a stalled oil demand recovery. Brent crude futures for December delivery were at $42.66 a barrel. down 50 cents in early trade of Wednesday, while December U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures slipped 56 cents or 1.34% to $41.14. From data from industry group, the American Petroleum Institute showed crude inventories rose by 584,000 barrels in the week to October 16 to 490.6 million barrels. Data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration is due out later this Wednesday. On the supply side, Russia's energy minister said on Wednesday it was too early to discuss the future of global oil production curbs beyond December, less than a week after saying plans to scale back existing output restrictions should proceed. Aluminium prices edged up on Wednesday by 0.23% as speculators build up fresh positions amid a positive trend in spot market. Also on the global commodity market, rising demand lifts refined soya oil futures. Here's a graphic representation of prices. On the capital market, transactions on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed in negative territory this Wednesday. The NSE All Share Index depreciated by 0.75% to close at 28,449.49 basis points as traders exchanged 326.5 million shares valued at 4.2 billion naira in 4,367 deals. Market capitalization stood at 14.8 trillion naira. And on the global scene, global markets are optimistic on the latest development of the U.S. stimulus package. Bosede Abel gives us details.
Stocks in Asia were mixed on Wednesday as investors continue to watch for development on U.S. coronavirus stimulus talks. Shanghai Composite down fractionally to 3,325.02, while Hang Seng Index, on the other hand, advanced 0.75% to close at 24,754.42, and Nikkei added 0.31% to close at 23,639.46. U.S. stock index futures were little changed early Wednesday after White House said that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin have made good progress on stimulus talks. Futures contracts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average pointed to a slightly lower open. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures were also near break-even. European markets are struggling to remain positive Wednesday, given the latest political development on stimulus talks in the U.S. Africa's stocks opened mostly positive, with South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40, Ghana's GSE Composite, and Nairobi's All Share posting gains. Bosede Abel, Business Express.
And up next is a look at the exchange rate of the naira to other international currencies. And this is where we end this edition of Business Express. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now. And don't forget to use the hashtag BizX. Business Express returns Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I am Uplang Dakok.